I would say Limestone Coffee is like the heart of downtown Batavia and has been even before we bought it. It used to be on the east side of town, and I used to live just a couple of blocks from it and would go with my daughter when she was little, like a year old. We'd walk there, and it was just always like such a cozy spot that was just felt so welcoming. And when it moved here to the west side of town, would come with my family, would come with my son, we'd come and play chess before school, and it just had so much heart and community feel, and I love that.
Hey everybody, you're listening to Area Code Batavia, a podcast about what it means to belong in Batavia, Illinois. I'm your host, Richard Clark. Each episode this season, I'm talking to downtown small business owners about why they do what they do and what it means to belong in Batavia, Illinois. Limestone Coffee and Tea is a fixture in downtown Batavia. When I started working on the Area Code Batavia project and coming up with my initial slate of guests, Limestone was a no-brainer for exactly this reason. Limestone is often full, sometimes crowded, but always inviting.
So right now, I see almost 100% regulars, people who come in almost every day. We usually know each other's names. They come in, we say hello to each other.
And there's this kind of miraculous thing that happens when you walk in. As crowded as it can sometimes be, you can always find a space there.
But yeah, it's full of people meeting, whether it's for fun or for work or, I don't know, just a place where people come just to be. Different place than work and home.
Creating space like this might seem easy, but it's not as easy to keep it financially sustainable. And that's why I was so interested in talking to the co-owners, Leah and Joy, about the inspiration and motivation behind the business and exactly what it takes to maintain a place like this, built for community and connection.
I mean, when we first bought Limestone, one of our little taglines, and it was more for us than anybody else, but was for the love of community.
We had our conversation at Limestone during peak hours. We set up our mics on that big table in the back. So as you listen to this conversation, you'll experience firsthand the Limestone atmosphere. Just picture curious people sliding by as we talk. Leah politely waving to regulars every 5 minutes or so.
Know each other, and one of our patrons years ago called Limestone like the local LinkedIn, or where you come here.
Interesting.
And all of a sudden you're making all these networking connections. Like you're like, oh yeah, I wanted to talk to you about.
Oh, you're that person.
You're that person, or you get introduced to somebody. When we were coming up with our business LLC, Joy had this great idea to call it Nagosti, which is a Bulgarian term. And you can probably explain it better than me, because it encapsulates what our heart was for Limestone.
Mm-hmm.
So
I served in the Peace Corps in Bulgaria,
okay,
and was just so impressed upon their hospitality. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like when you go Nagosti, there's some Latin roots, like guest. Yeah. You're going as a guest to someone's house. Like, I mean, it's like 5-6 hours. Like, it's not a pop over for dinner or have dessert and then you go home, right? Like it's like you sit and you're just there.
You
like
settle
there's
in.
Nothing next.
Yeah.
Like this is it.
That's
right?
good. Yeah.
And so it was just like this concept of like, I'm going Nagosti tonight to my house. Everyone's like jealous. They also have their own version, I'm sure, but it's such an incredible, like deep, meaningful thing beyond, I think, what hospitality means to our culture, at least that I've seen. And we wanted to have that here. Like, don't be in a hurry.
Yeah.
Just be here. Be seen. Be a part of this group.
Yeah.
Because we want you here.
Before you all bought Limestone and together, had you known each other before that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were friends for a good 2 or 3 years, probably.
Okay.
We have a mutual friend and kind of came together because as I said, we have like backgrounds of living overseas, and so a lot of connection that way. A lot of similar interests.
Yeah.
Like we love fine wines, fine cheeses, tabletop games, hiking,
traveling, being outside.
So we spent a lot of time together, and our families spent a lot of time together. And we were close friends. We volunteered together in a couple of different capacities also. So,
How long did you live in Batavia before you met?
so my husband grew up in Batavia. I did not. And after we were married and had started our family, we had moved back here in 2008.
Okay.
And then Joy moved here in
2015. So we basically
Yeah.
like right away became friends because everyone was like, "Oh, you've traveled. You should meet Leah."
You should meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So
Who are you talking to? Like, I guess the question I want to ask really is like, what was the first moment that you both, and I'll start with you, Joy.
Sure.
Like, what was the first moment that you felt you belonged in Batavia?
Let me describe it this way, and I've told Leah this too. Like when we moved here, I just said yes to everything, volunteering for things, meeting up with people who invited me to go get coffee or go play games at their house or whatever. Like because that's how you get connected.
Right.
And I think it was a mutual thing where like that was my like strategy for making friends and becoming connected, but it was also very natural because of the people here.
Right.
So I don't
It
know
was
if
easy
there
to
was
say
like
yes to that
yeah,
stuff.
it was
Yeah.
easy to say yes to because people are friendly and inviting, but I'm also friendly and willing to do things. So does that help? Like
Yes.
I just feel like that was it. Like okay, there's this mutual like we're connected pretty quickly because it was friendly and I was doing it.
Leah, what about you? What was the moment that you felt you belonged in Batavia?
like Joy, I had lived and moved a lot, almost my whole life before settling in Batavia. As a kid, it was normal to move and always be in new places. And I would say for me, it was when we had our two kids and started really just settling in here, going to library classes and Park District gymnastics and dancing. And, you know, when you start seeing people, the same people everywhere you go, and you realize like, oh, I live in a community of people. It's not just I live around people, it's I live with people.
Right.
And I would say when our kids started arriving at school age, we had opportunity to send them to private school. And I told my husband, I said, I really want them to go to neighborhood school. I want them to stay here in the community because I want them to go to school with their neighbors, with the people they're going to run into at the playground and at the library. And so that was a very, very intentional choice on our end to stay within our community. And I would say it was kind of at that moment where my kids were arriving at that age, that school age, that I was like, this is where we belong.
Right.
And I think that's why I was also so drawn to owning a business in Batavia, because it's just that sense of this is where I belong. I don't want to work outside of my community.
Right.
I like living here, working here, playing here, eating here, recreation here. Maybe that's because I traveled so much before. Like having such a centered place has been just really important to me.
Yeah. Can you describe the moment that you both decided to buy Limestone and do this thing together?
Leah heard about it through a friend.
Ironically, who's here right now.
Yeah, he's here. He's pretty much
Just
here
over there,
every
just
single
a
day.
few feet away.
Yeah. And he's currently now our landlord. Like,
Yeah.
that's how he heard about it. 'Cause
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
person who
something
owns
we
the
were
building.
chatting about local businesses and small businesses, and I had told my friend, I was trying to explain to my kids today the difference between like a Starbucks and a Limestone, you know, because we had been at Limestone and trying to explain, you know, what a small business is and what a local coffee shop is. And he said, well, ironically, Limestone's up for sale if you know anybody who is interested. And I was I was very much in this, what is my next thing in life? What am I going to do with my life? You know, I had a career, but I was kind of looking for the next thing.
Can I ask what your career was before this?
I was a professional musician.
Okay.
I have a degree in piano performance.
Okay.
And, my kids were getting a little bit older, and so just looking to try something different. And when I heard that Limestone was for sale, I just had this aha moment. It was like a light bulb. And it was like, that is exactly what I want to do. And then in the same moment and I want to do it with Joy.
Yeah.
And so I think it was the next morning I called her up and I was like, hey, I heard Limestone's for sale. Let's buy it. Let's do this together. I really want to do this together.
Yeah. And from your perspective, was this out of the blue? When you received that call, were you like, I hadn't thought of that, or was it?
Oh, I hadn't thought of it, but I was also ready to shift from my current career situation as well.
Which was what?
A smattering, but
Okay.
perfect for running a business where you just have all kinds of.
Well, at that
different
time you were
experience.
working in Chicago.
I was in the city.
Yeah.
I was a software sales account manager. So
Got it.
it was
super exciting.
That deep breath right before you said that says everything we need to know.
I was ready for a change.
I
I'll
get
just
it.
say
So,
that, yeah.
but what's interesting to me is neither of you ran businesses before this.
No, we did not.
But you're talking about it like it's this natural choice to
Oh, it
step
fits us
into it.
really well.
But-
yeah,
but-
we didn't know though.
Right. Well, that's the thing I'm getting at is being in even managing or having a coffee shop is like a really idyllic idea. It's the kind of things, from my perspective, it's the kind of thing they make cozy games about, like those video games that make you feel better.
Right.
It seems really nice, but the
hilarious.
idea that's tied to that of running a business, it can be a very different animal. And I'm curious, did you feel in that moment like you understood that and were ready for that?
We did not know what we were stepping into, that's for sure. That's not necessarily negative, but
Yeah.
I have described it this way to many people. It's kind of like having your first child. You don't really know what you're getting yourself into. And
No one would do it if they did.
Right. Yeah. And that first year of being a parent, there's
Yeah.
many moments you're like, what did I get myself into? I didn't know it was going to be like this. But then there's also incredible joy with being a parent too.
Mm-hmm.
And especially our first year of owning Limestone, it was a huge learning curve. But I say this as humbly as possible. We are smart, intelligent, hardworking women, and we just figured it out, and we're learners. And so we have, no problem seeking out mentoring, asking people hey, how did you do this? Or, reading books or whatever it is, and just, and Joy kind of mentioned this earlier, we had both had a lot of experiences that did prepare us for business ownership.
we were set up to be entrepreneurs, but we didn't even know it.
Interesting, yeah.
We just, and then the two combined, I would never do this without Leah. I also know we wouldn't have done a non-turnkey situation. We're not going to set up a business.
Right.
You know what I
Out of
mean?
nothing.
So
That's
this
interesting.
turnkey and then together.
And our strengths really balance each other out really
I was going to
well
say there's a
also.
complementary thing that's
Absolutely.
evident to me even now. There's some detail stuff over here and then some big picture
Ish.
management.
You read that perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're both, we love connecting with people.
Uh-huh.
That is where the heart is. Yeah, we can get all the behind the scenes stuff done, right? And when we don't know what to do, like Leah said, we'll seek out advice or ask questions, freak out for a little bit together, and then we move on, you know. But we love connecting with people.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the heart of it.
You have started something that is very vision forward. It feels like it is created to serve a purpose or a vision, which you've already talked about a little bit. I'm curious, was that there from the very beginning? And did you have conscious ways in which you thought, we're going to do it this way because it is about community?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the heart of it.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, we've made multiple decisions that honestly go against what the normal trend is for coffee shops right now.
Okay.
Drive-throughs are
Right.
Or
most
to go only where
or
they
to
come
go
out to your
only.
car and bringing your coffee.
Yeah.
We don't.
so. But we have made many decisions where we ask ourselves, what is our value? Now, obviously, we remind each other we're not a non-for-profit. We're a for-profit business, so we do have to make decisions that we keeps our lights on and pays our staff well. But we do ask what is our value, which always comes down to people, and specifically right now, Batavia people. We've had opportunities to expand the business to other communities, and we've decided right now we want to be in Batavia and we want to stay in Batavia and put our focus there.
What is the reason behind not branching out, potentially expanding the business in that way?
So another small business owner shared with us some advice kind of right when we took over the business, and she just said that her and her husband, their business, they always ask 2 questions. Do we like doing it? And does it make us money? And if it doesn't answer both those questions, we're not going to do it. It ties into the Batavia question, which Leah can expand upon. But we want to be in Batavia.
Yeah.
And it makes us money because our loyalty, our branding is here and our client base is here, right? So it's both. It's going to make us money and we want to be here. We don't want to be anywhere else.
Who knows what future Joy and Leah will say.
Yep.
But current right. Joy and Leah say, we bought Limestone because of the Batavia third place it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did not buy Limestone because we wanted to become
a coffee mill.
Yeah.
A coffee factory or whatever.
So for our current value is just being very, very, very invested in Batavia.
Right.
And being very active in all aspects of Batavia, or, not all, but as many as we can.
As many as makes sense, and our partnerships.
Yeah. We know so many local small business owners in Batavia. Are great friends with many, many of them. And we just love being in the community and supporting each other and advocating for each other. So it just didn't fit our current value to have another location in another town right now.
Was there a moment after you purchased Limestone, whether right after or even just years in, where you sort of questioned whether this was a good idea?
I would definitely say my first week after the keys were handed over and the other owners walked away. And it was a couple days into it, I remember standing in the back and just saying, what did I get myself into?
What did it stay? So it wasn't like a slow reopening. It was
It was immediate.
It was,
there
I
was
didn't
no
realize that.
transition
So you
period,
bought it and it closed. It just kept going.
It kept
and
going.
You suddenly owned a working coffee shop.
Yep.
And restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
I mean, I would call it a cafe.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't call it a
but
restaurant,
you served food,
but a
which
cafe.
is a big deal.
That was all
It had a
made
food
on
menu.
site.
All of it was in-house.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say mostly it was that aspect. The cafe aspect, I was like, what did I get myself into?
So my limited experience on stuff like this is I worked in a Panera Bread. I worked at a Panera Bread.
Very similar
And the
to that.
drastic difference between the people who made the food and the people who worked in coffee and bakery it's distinct.
Yeah.
It's like a very different thing.
And we were doing it all.
Yeah. Wow.
And they spread that they sprayed and prayed, which is fine. They were getting this business thriving, right?
Yep.
And they were one family.
Yeah.
But they served everything hoping that it would grab more volume of people.
Yeah.
But it was a lot. It was a lot to manage. And let me just say this too. The timelines and the way it worked out, we bought the business 6 months before I could leave my commission-based job in the city. Mm-hmm. So she ran the business for 6 months.
Oh, so you're in Chicago.
I'm in Chicago.
And Leah, you're in the back freaking out.
Yes, basically. Yeah,
basically. Yep.
And I do want to. So we know your feeling about that. What was your feeling about that at that moment?
Oh,
Were
I
you
wanted
hearing
to
from
be
her?
here so bad.
Yeah.
I wanted to be here so bad. Not only did I mostly hate my job, but this is just what I was meant to do. Like she said, this is what I wanted to be doing. This is what I meant to be doing and doing it together. And we knew buying it, I was going to have to finish my year in the city.
Yeah.
So we knew that, but it didn't make it any easier on her or on me just doing my thing in the city,
Did it turn into kind of a hustle year for you where you were kind of doing two things?
And I had a baby.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot
The
that
other
part.
thing-
Right, yeah.
The other
Yeah.
thing that
The other thing, like
that
almost
you don't know what you're
immediately
getting
found
into.
out I was going to have a baby.
Was this your first?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, right. So it was quite a whirlwind. Yeah, for me, yeah, but especially for Leah.
Took over the business October of 2018.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and
Almost
then
5 years ago.
Joy's daughter was born July 2019.
Uh-huh.
And then November 2019, our shop flooded, so we closed for 3 weeks
Okay.
for
Yeah,
renovations.
renovated, yeah.
Reopened for the holidays, yay!
And then COVID hit.
That's why. So, you know what's crazy is I moved here. So again, because of my kids, I can measure how long we've been here by how long they
That's
are.
nice,
I'm
yeah.
terrible at time, so that's great.
It's perfect.
So we've been here 5 years.
Okay.
So I must have
Right
moved
about
here around the
then,
time.
Yeah.
But I had no idea that there was any. Like, I thought that you all had owned Limestone and had been here forever. It's just crazy
I'm
how it
glad we
presented.
gave off that vibe, yeah.
I mean, it probably
Fake
has
it till
something
you
to do
make it.
with the fact that it did exist before, but
Sure,
like,
yeah.
it's just crazy how like you just assume things have been this way, and I don't
Yeah.
know how many people listening to this will have that same experience or like but it's interesting how it just feels like it's been that way. And from your perspective, you have yet to have like a solid, stable year.
I
it
know.
sounds
We
like.
keep hoping this will be the year.
Yeah. Well, it feels like it. Right?
I know.
We're crossing our fingers.
Is there someone who inspires you in what you do? Joy.
Well, honestly, Leah does a lot. The fact that she asked me to go into business with her, I was like, oh my God, I must be putting off a different vibe than I feel inside. But I would say, I won't go into like specifics, but all the like really strong women that I've had in my life who have told me I can do whatever. Not, there are limits because of credentials and stuff, but like just strong women who didn't just surrender to status quo. There are people that you don't know that kind of just, maybe not with words always, but with just like presence and modeling of like, don't sell myself short just because I'm a woman
Right?
or because I've not done it before. Because I don't have all the answers.
Yeah. Was that something that kept you from pursuing entrepreneurship in the past?
No, I'm a kind of fly by the seat of my pants person.
Okay.
And so I don't think I ever would have thought of doing this.
Okay.
I did reach out to the Starbucks in Bulgaria, in the town I was living in. It was a city of 450,000 people. There wasn't one there, sorry. And I reached out to Starbucks. I'm like, listen, I speak the language. I love coffee, and I think I would be a great manager. What if you open a shop here? I would love to do that. And
Okay.
they got back to me and said, thanks for reaching out. We're not expanding our international whatever at this time. But
Yeah.
anyway, like, so I had that like cool idea
Yep.
to like ask them
Yep.
to let me run a new shop, you know, but it didn't hold me back.
Yeah.
Doesn't hold me back very much now. But here's the thing. One woman who I met almost right away after moving here, and I was volunteering with her, and I remember her saying, if there's something tough, just find a friend to do it with. Like, if there's something you don't want to do or you just can't get over this whatever, like,
Yeah.
just get a friend and do it together. I'm like, and then it flips and it's like fun, you know,
Yes,
and then you feel like
yes.
you can do anything. And
Yeah.
so I think that's part of it.
What about you, Leah? Who inspires you?
Well, Joy's a little Energizer bunny over here, and I cannot figure out how she just keeps going all the time. And I'm like, I need some of that in my life.
Yeah. Isn't that annoying?
Yeah, right? I'm like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
So I love that, and keeps me on my toes in a really good way, and keeps our business, just going. But I would say, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, we have a very strong small business community in Batavia, and they're all just very inspiring people.
Yeah.
And especially during COVID,
Yeah.
watching many of our business neighbors pivot and figure out how to keep their business surviving and alive during that time, and supporting each other. So many of the local businesses were like, let's do the social media post together, or like,
I don't know, they're just super supportive, and
yeah,
knowing that we're here together. There's just this like mentality and supportive.
And for the most part, it's not competitive, it's supportive. And I think that's just been really inspiring.
Right. And you can feel that too. Like I wanted to ask, like, what is something that about Limestone that you feel could only work in Batavia?
So I don't know if this is the answer to that question, but a part of it is the down-to-earth, unpretentious character that is Batavia.
Yeah.
I just don't think that we would want to do a business anywhere else that wasn't that.
Batavians are a special group of people.
Right.
And I think, they start attracting similar people
Yeah.
to Batavia.
Yeah.
It's great synergy.
Yeah.
It keeps building on itself.
Yeah, I am curious, like, how that it is your personalities, I guess, like, in which, like, the unpretentiousness, I guess, comes out. But I'm curious if that does that find its way into anything Limestone does. Like, how does that play out in the business?
This is a funny thing to say, but when we hire baristas who have other experience in coffee shops, we often tell them, we're like, well, we're not a pretentious coffee shop. Our value is to have an excellent product and to be very consistent with our product.
Yeah.
But we're not pretentious. So if that's what you're looking for in a coffee shop, this might not be the place for you.
Yeah.
And it's not just me and Leah. You said, yeah, that's those characteristics. We embody them.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the customer base is not pretentious. Like, it's both. Yeah, we don't serve pretentious coffee, although some coffee shops might say we do, or maybe like McDonald's might say we do.
Right.
But like, compared to, I would say, the more roast experiences or presentation focused experiences, there's not the demand for that here.
Yeah.
And we're in no way trying to throw shade on any other
No.
coffee shop.
Right.
This is just
Not at all. It's just
It's
this
a-
is
who
the
we are
Batavia
too,
coffee shop.
and
Totally.
so
Yeah.
we sometimes enjoy going to other places
Yes, we do.
and trying some fancy coffee and fancy
Of
coffee
course.
shops, so it's fun, but that's just not
Yeah,
necessarily
no, it's
us, so,
fine.
yeah.
It's just not Batavia.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What keeps you up at night about Limestone? We'll start with Leah on this one.
I would say one of the hardest parts of being a business owner, and I would think this is probably true of most businesses, is the HR part of it.
Yeah.
First, I will say we have an incredible team here.
Yeah.
Somehow we have just been so fortunate just to have excellent staff. They're very reliable. They're very trustworthy. They're fun. They're great with our customers. So, but that's also, I would say, one of our stressors isn't the best word, but it's hard,
It's a
to
fragile
manage.
thing.
It's very
Yeah.
fragile, and
Fragile in what way?
Because they're people.
Yeah.
Not like they're high maintenance or fragile themselves.
Right.
Not at all, actually. So I've been wanting to say this all along, and I know this is true for Leah too, but when we say that, like, Batavia is why we do this and the community is why we do this, the deepest part of that is our staff, right?
Yeah.
Like, taking care of them and trying to make sure that they feel seen and literally just taking care of as best we can and having concern for them. That is what keeps us up at night. Like, just trying to make sure that we're doing our best by them, and sometimes you have to make tough decisions on that front.
and sometimes
It's very rare that we have to make those tough decisions. But that was I was going to say the same thing with our staff and the HR part.
And sometimes, we realize that we could have done something better or
Yeah.
could have handled a situation better.
Yeah.
And that's hard because we try to be as great as possible.
We mess up.
And we mess up.
Yeah.
But
But even that introspection like reflects something, right? It reflects that you care, which is not like you don't often get people willing to even say that, willing to even say that to themselves, much less another person, much less on mic. I think that reflects something, and I also think like coming into the coffee shop, you just feel that like service is not something I've noticed is bad here. I mean, I'm not sure I've noticed anything is bad other than pour over coffee.
Nice,
would be
nice,
good.
yeah.
Right. Just kidding. I don't care. I don't get it. I don't get pour over coffee, but yeah, like that sense that you are helping them feel seen and welcome. It's passed on to the customer in my
That's what
experience.
we hope for.
Right?
Not for the sake of the business. Yes, of course, it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
The workplace is the modern village, I think. Can't really get away from everybody. You gotta like live next to the neighbor you're stuck next to.
Yes, totally.
So we really try to do our best. We really try, and we don't always get it right, but we try.
Yeah.
Our staff can say that. I think they see that we try.
But an example of where we get little glimpses into, I would say, maybe the health of our staff is even yesterday one of our baristas texted the whole group and said we had to put down our dog today.
Ugh.
And so, but
Yeah.
just
That's it.
felt
So,
the vulnerability to be able to
It is
say that
big. Yeah.
to her teammates.
And she doesn't have a shift coming up. She wasn't looking for someone to get it covered.
Wow.
She was just sharing.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just get beautiful examples of that.
Right.
So
Yeah, and one of our staff members who worked for us for a year, she just moved. Sad to lose her.
to another state. Yeah.
To another state, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like dream. Anyway, she wanted to do that her whole life. But anyway, she moved, and she's texting us pictures and videos of like her hiking and stuff. Like, so they go deep with each other.
Yeah.
If you're here for a good chunk of time. Anyway,
That's cool.
yeah.
Last question.
Okay.
I'll start with Leah.
Okay.
To you, what does it mean to belong in Batavia?
I think it's a give and a take. You have to show up, and you have to be part of what Batavia is. And so I think in a lot of our society, we're takers. We want the service, we want the food, we want the drink, we want, it's all about me and what can I get. And I think to belong in Batavia, you have to give.
Yeah.
Along with the taking. And, whether that's volunteering or just showing up or
spending your money here.
spending your money here, or
Not
your time
here
here.
at Limestone, but here in the
Batavia.
town.
Yeah. Come
But a
to
great
Limestone.
idea.
Yes.
Little sales pitch.
Yeah. And there's a lot of Batavians who have already found that belonging. And I think there's a lot of people who haven't quite yet found it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be like, you don't even know what it's like. Like
Yeah.
this is here for you. But it's just, it's showing up. And even, let's see here, what evening was it? It was Thursday night. My husband and I, we didn't have anything on our calendar, which is very rare.
Mm-hmm.
It was a gorgeous night. And so I said, let's just go downtown and walk around Batavia. And so we brought our dog and we walked around, River Street and across the Peace Bridge and up Wilson. And there were people everywhere. There were people out. Their Sidecar Supper Club was doing trivia night. So River Street was full of people. The popcorn depot was popping popcorn and, and we ran into so many people that we either knew personally or kind of knew them. They kind of knew us. And so you could kind of just hey, how are you? And wave. But it's just that it's that showing up.
Yeah.
And, when instead of just plopping down in front of another television show, it was let's just go walk around.
Right.
So
Yes. I think one of the things I've observed is living in the suburbs is that there is a real impulse sometimes to go to a different place, like I did when I lived in Wheaton and came to Batavia.
yeah.
Though that was a little more intentional. I think a lot of
Yeah.
times we end up out on Randall and we're going off to Geneva or North Aurora and we're not really thinking about how can I be a part of this
Yeah.
place that I actually live.
Right.
And that's part of why I'm
Yeah.
starting the podcast is like
Yeah.
to focus. So I've had people say, why not do the Tri-Cities? And I'm like, no, but I want to really focus on this town
live, yeah.
because I believe that is actually beneficial both for the town, but also for the people.
Yeah.
To actually focus
Yeah.
on where you live. What about you, Joy? What is belonging to? What does it mean to belong in Batavia? Sorry, I forgot the question.
Yeah. So I'll echo a little bit what Leah said, but like I was thinking about John F. Kennedy because the Peace Corps is so ingrained in me.
Okay.
Like, ask not what your country can do for you.
Yeah.
Ask what you can do for your country. Just like, and how much that gives back to you.
Yeah.
Right. Like Leah said. But I think it's also, and this is a little bit of me, but I feel so at home here. I feel like it's also Batavia. It's like just believing the best about your neighbors. Like, just instead of assuming everybody's out to like screw you or I don't know. That's just not here. If you believe the best about the people around you, I think that's how you connect here.
Is that true? Is that truer in Batavia than other places? Maybe that's like
I have to believe it is because they actually reach out. Like, why would you reach out? Or why would you want to be connected to someone you don't believe the best about? I don't know. I've just never felt people, might be true on some level elsewhere, but it's just so, I feel like prevalent here.
Yeah.
Maybe more deeply true
Yeah.
with more people
Yeah.
or more parts of people. I don't know.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
We're done, but I just want to make the observation that Leah in particular has waved at about 14 people in the course of this interview.
That's because I had a direct line of sight.
I
Joy
know.
would have been that person too.
It's just funny to do an interview where you're just waving at people as you're talking.
And they're probably like,
Yeah.
which is like a
Just did that,
classic.
yeah.
I mean, we're just in a coffee shop having a conversation, and that's probably what tends to happen. But
Yeah.
it's cool.
it goes with the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as Joy said, we know a lot of people by name.
I am not good at remembering names. When I first meet someone, I'm usually too busy worrying about what they'll think of me, if they'll like me, or whether I'm saying the wrong thing. In the end, all that internal noise in my head usually crowds out the person's name and other details that I might miss. But in our conversation, I was struck by the string of optimism that guides Leah and Joy's decision making. So often you see businesses making decisions out of fear or cynicism. But I wonder if Leah and Joy's determination to assume the best of their employees, of their patrons, and ultimately of their town is part of the magic that makes Limestone work. That optimism is more than just a passive positivity. It leads to proactive steps, to getting involved in the community in ways that they presume will make a difference. And yes, this optimistic approach also frees up space in their heads to learn the names of the people they meet. Thanks for listening to Area Code Batavia. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Winter can be a hard time for local businesses, so make sure you're supporting local businesses when you can. If you enjoy this podcast, why not subscribe to our newsletter? Just click the link in the show notes and put in your email address. Not only will we let you know whenever there's a new episode of Area Code Batavia available, but each issue also brings you 5 concrete ways to experience a deeper sense of belonging in the community of Batavia, Illinois. Most importantly, if you know someone who would love to hear this podcast, please share it with them. Word of mouth is the best way to grow this community and help more people feel like they belong in Batavia, Illinois. Area Code Batavia is produced by Area Code Audio. It's hosted and produced by me, Richard Clark, with additional production help from Jennifer Clark.